If you Google pros and cons of living in Vancouver, Washington, you're going to find a lot of videos about hiking trails, coffee shops, and whether the summers are getting hotter. And look, that stuff matters, but if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're not just thinking about visiting, you're thinking about buying. You're thinking about putting down roots, building equity, maybe purchasing your first home or your next investment property. I'm going to give you something different today. I'm Dustin Hutley. I'm a loan originator here in Southwest Washington, and I'm going to break down the real pros and cons of living in Vancouver, Washington, from the perspective of someone who helps people buy homes here every single week. I'm going to start with the pros because honestly, there are a lot of them. This is a genuinely great place to buy a home and build a life. But I'm also going to be real with you about the cons because no place is perfect and deserves honest information before you make one of the biggest financial decisions of your life. Pro number one. No state income tax. You've probably heard this one before, seeing some of my prior videos. Washington is one of 9 states with no state income tax. But let me explain why this matters way more than most people realize when you're buying a home. When I'm helping someone get pre-approved for a mortgage, one of the biggest factors is something called your debt to income ratio. Basically, it's how much of your gross monthly income goes toward debt payments. The lower that ratio, the more house you can afford and the easier it is to get approved. Here's where no state income tax becomes a superpower. Your take-home pay is high. For example, let's say you work across the river and you're making $100,000 a year. You're losing roughly $9,000 to state income tax. That's $750 a month that just disappears before you ever see it. In Washington, that $750 a month stays in your pocket. Pro number 2, we're the most affordable major market on the West Coast. Right now, as of 2026, the median home price in Clark County is hovering around $540,000 to $550,000. I know that doesn't sound affordable. Compared to the Midwest or the South, it's not, but let me put it in context. Seattle, which is about a 3-hour drive north of Vancouver, you're looking at a median well over $800,000. Portland, higher than us, and you're paying state income tax on top of it. California markets like San Francisco, LA, San Diego, some of those medians are pushing over $1 million. If you want to live on the West Coast and also have access to mountains, rivers, forests, mild weather, and a strong economy, Clark County is where your dollar goes the furthest. And here's what that means practically. A first-time home buyer with a decent job and modest savings can actually get into a home here, not a condo, not a townhouse, an actual single-family home with a yard. That's increasingly rare on this coast, and it's one of the biggest reasons I see people relocating from Seattle, Portland, and California. Pro number 3, the job market here is mortgage approval friendly. When I'm underwriting a loan, one of the things I'm looking at is employment stability. Is your income consistent? Is your industry growing or shrinking? Are there opportunities if you need to switch jobs? Clark County's economy isn't just dependent on one industry. We've got healthcare, tech, manufacturing, logistics, construction, and a massive remote work population. That diversification means if one sector dips, you're not in trouble. And from a mortgage perspective, it means your income looks stable. I've also noticed something else over the past few years. A lot of my clients work remotely for companies based in Seattle or California. They're earning Seattle or Bay Area salaries while paying Vancouver cost of living and no state income tax. That math is amazing. So if you're in that situation, your buying power here is probably better than you think. Pro number 5, this is a growth market and that means equity. Clark County is projected to add around 200,000 residents over the next 20 years. That's nearly 50% growth from where we are now. That means demand for housing is going to keep climbing. Why does that matter for you? Because real estate in growing markets tends to appreciate. When you buy a home here, you're not just getting a place to live, you're buying into a market where values have historically gone up 4 to 6% per year over the long term. Every year you own, you're building equity through your mortgage payments and through appreciation. I've had clients who bought 3 or 4 years ago and have 80,000 to 100,000 more in equity than when they started. That's the foundation for financial stability. Con number 1. It's still expensive compared to most of the country. I just told you we're the most affordable market on the West Coast, and that's true, but let's be real. The median home price of $540,000 is not cheap. If you're coming from Texas, Ohio, Florida, or the Midwest, you might experience sticker shock. The West Coast has a premium, and even though we're the lowest price option in this region, we're still above the national median by a significant margin. If pure affordability is your top priority and you're not tied to this area, you can get more house for your money elsewhere. That said, I'd encourage you to run the full numbers before you decide. Factor in state income tax in those other states, factor in job opportunities, salary differences, and quality of life. Sometimes the cheaper market isn't actually cheaper when you zoom out. Con number 2, property taxes are higher than some states. This is the trade-off for no state income tax. Washington has to generate revenue somehow, and property taxes are one of the ways they do it. In Clark County, you're looking at roughly 1% to 1.2% of your home's assessed value per year in property taxes. On a $500,000 home, that's around $5,000 to $6,000 annually, or about $400 to $500 per month added to your mortgage payment. Is that high? Compared to some states, yes. Compared to others, it's actually pretty reasonable, but it's something you need to factor in when you're calculating your total monthly payment. A lot of first home buyers forget about taxes and insurance and then get surprised when their actual payment is $300 to $400 higher than they expected. Con number 3, Inventory in the starter home range is tight. If you're a first-time home buyer looking in that $350,000 to $450,000 range, which is where most of my first-time clients are shopping, you're going to face some competition. There just aren't as many homes at that price point as there used to be, and the ones that hit the market tend to go fast. This doesn't mean it's impossible, it means you need to be prepared. You need to be pre-approved, not just pre-qualified, before you start seriously shopping. I tell my clients, in this market, hesitation costs you. If you see a home you love and you're not ready to make a decision, someone else will be. Con number 4. Insurance costs are increasing. This is something I've noticed over the past couple of years, and it's worth mentioning. Homeowners insurance premiums are going up, partly because of wildlife risk in the surrounding areas and partly because of national trends in the insurance industry. We're not in a wildfire zone here in the city, but insurers are pricing risk more aggressively across the board. This isn't a deal breaker, but it is something to factor into your budget. When I run numbers with a client, I always include realistic insurance estimates, not the lowball numbers you see on online calculators. All right, those are my honest pros and cons of living in Vancouver, Washington in 2026. Here's my overall take. If you want to live on the West Coast, if you want access to nature without being in the middle of nowhere, if you want a strong economy with job diversity, and if you want your housing dollar to go as far as possible while paying no state income tax, Clark County may be one of the best options available right now. If you're thinking about buying here, whether you're relocating from out of state or you already live here and you're ready to stop renting, I'd love to help you figure out where you stand. Feel free to click the first link in my description where we will have you fill out a short questionnaire and then we can schedule a quick consultation call. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.